Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia, a weekly broadcast for and about Liberia. Tonight we'll be discussing Liberian professionals in the diaspora, and we're broadcasting from right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I have with me in the studio a guest, Mr. Snorwlor Bropleh. Mr. Bropleh, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. It's glad to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Snorwlor Bropleh is an Associate Director for Collaborative Services at Habitat for Humanity International. Habitat is a global non-profit organization headquartered in Atlanta. In his current role, he is responsible for leading transformational change initiatives across the enterprise, leveraging business intelligence principles to increase operational efficiency and improve decision-making. Mr. Bropleh has over 15 years of data analysis and reporting experience. He is a result-driven professional, passionate about influencing change through driving process improvement and developing strategies that enable organizations to thrive. His self-motivated attitude has enabled him to flourish in high-pressure environments and attain challenging goals in the business and nonprofit sectors. Mr. Bropleh was born into the union of Dr. Nando Patrick and Mary Todi Bropleh. Snorwlor is happily married to his beautiful wife Bernice, and they are blessed with two lovely children, his daughter Fadila Todi and Doba Patrick. He received his bachelor's degree in finance from Kennesaw State University in Georgia and his MBA with concentration in management information system from Wilmington University, Delaware. Mr. Snorwlor Bropleh,
yes.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Thank you. Also, we're going to have on the phone another guest who has a finance background. That is Mr. Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe. Mr. Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe's expertise is in accounting and finance. He'll be here also via remote connection to speak to us on the topic of Liberian professionals in the diaspora. Mr. Bonak is the Senior Regional Accounting Analyst with a company called Stefan Company. He holds an MBA degree with emphasis in accounting from Bernard University in Gainesville, Georgia. Mr. Bonak is going to be on the phone. Mr. Bonak, if you're there, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Thank you, Mr. Bonak. I want to mention Mr. Bonak Sengbe Kerkulah is married to his beautiful wife, Nash Davis, Nash King Sengbe. He wants also to mention his siblings. Bonak has two siblings, two doctors. That's Dr. Martin-Kpeyei Sengbe. He's the senior pastor for Victory Harvest International in Philadelphia. And also Dr. Bangbala Sengbe, a psychotherapist and behavioral clinician, a behavioral health clinician. Mr. Bonak, we're glad to have you to discuss this. And let's jump right into it. Let's start with you, Mr. Bropleh. Kindly describe for us your professional career, even though I kind of touched on it briefly, but if you can give us more. What do you do when you say you're a business intelligence professional?
Well, so thank you again for having me here. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here. When we talk about business intelligence and what I do, it's really taking data, taking information, and using it to make decisions. So in the for-profit world, you have people like, Bank of America, Sallie Mae, like all of these like big organizations, Amazon. That's what makes them thrive. And I believe that as a professional and on the social entrepreneurship side, the nonprofit world, that it's also needed there as well.
Thank you. And if you are joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, and for tonight we are discussing Liberian professionals in the diaspora. It is very easy for us to think about Liberian professionals and think that Liberia is a very old country. And I said before, this, comparing from 1822 to now, this is a relatively shorter time compared to countries like Ghana or Nigeria, because we moved from ancient Ghana from the empire days. So they have more structure, there's more system. But for Liberia, let's look at it as this is a new country. And so we want to start from the very basic. So this time we're discussing Liberian Professionals and what impact they have in the diaspora and what they can do for Liberia. So we want to go to Mr. Sengbe on the phone, if you're ready, to just briefly describe for us what you do for a living. And when Mr. Sengbe, Kerkulah, when you're ready, we'll come right back to you. So Mr. Bropleh, that's what you do for Habitat International. What other professional work are you involved in?
So I tend to focus on in the nonprofit sector. That's a personal choice of mine. I started my career earlier on in a financial industry, working with Bank of America, doing analytics, forecasting, reporting. Then did some risk analysis work at Sallie Mae, and that wasn't fulfilling to me. And I'm not knocking anyone who's actually working in corporate America. It's just that as a human being and based on where I've come from, this is where I see myself. What's the best fit for me, best fit for my family, and this is what I've been exposed to growing up, like in Liberia and here in the U.S. So that's...
Yeah, and I was first. I must congratulate you for what you do. Thank you so much for working in the nonprofit sector. I see that you're an associate director. Mm-hmm. For me that's huge. Coming from Liberia, I know you were born and raised in Liberia. You might have come. I don't know when you came to the U.S., but I mean you've made just that leap. How did you do it? Just walk us through. From the time you enter the United States to where you are now in your professional career.
So I would like to go back in time a little bit, because I think every individual has like their own, what I like to call individual DNA. So it comes from where I come from, right? So I always say that I have an unfair advantage because I came from Liberia. I have an unfair advantage because I came from Liberia. Meaning, grew up in a wonderful family. My dad and my mom, both of them are, crew. So of course, crew people in the education, right? So grew up with parents who actually had a lot of importance attached to education. But then also, I think the blessing in my life was actually going through a civil conflict. And I know everybody was like, oh, why is that a blessing? Well, it's a blessing because it prepared me for the challenges ahead. So outside of me dodging bullets, if I'm just in a corporate boardroom or I'm actually trying to get something across to an audience or to co-workers, it's a lot easier for me. So that's why I say I have an unfair advantage. And I consider myself a hopeless optimist in the sense that I think that I think the cup is always half filled, right? So that upbringing of growing up in that household where, education was actually stressed, the importance of education, love for family over self, all of that stuff. And then both parents actually working in the nonprofit sector in international development. All of that kind of just sits in just creates who you are as a person. And that's what happened today, And I would also like to say that the foundation of, going to good schools growing up. I was fortunate to do that. St. Patrick's played a pivotal role in who I am today. The decisions I make are actually swayed by my influence from folks who I've interacted with at St. Patrick's High School, professional and personal.
So that's going back. Now coming to the U.S.
Okay. All right. So now come to the U.S. So I think one of the things that has really helped is just humility. Just humility and having an understanding that, we are here on this earth, not for ourselves only, but to kind of leave an impact. What do I mean by that is if I die today, what would people say, right? So at Habitat, for instance, Habitat, I think it's a perfect marriage at Habitat because the values that they share are the values that I share as well. it's a big family. It's a sense of family, and the mission of actually eliminating like poverty housing across the world. I think it's bold, and I think is something that is extremely powerful. So getting to Habitat, I think I started Habitat like 3 years ago. Before that, I worked at Morehouse College, also a nonprofit that was focusing on African American men. Right. So this is kind of like the shaping of, like how I want to see myself into the future. So I think humility is one, candid conversation and respect. Humility, candid conversation, and respect. So being able to articulate that, hey, look, I don't agree with you, but I respect you. Those are some of the things that I take along with me along. That I think have actually added to that success. Okay,
great. And I know you started from somewhere in Habitat, and you've gradually climbed the ladder. Okay, coming from our background, as Liberians coming into America, again, you probably unfair advantage, or there are some challenges that you have to cross before becoming associate director of Habitat International. To me, that's huge. Okay, so for those watching us, maybe you need to tell us a little more how you did it and what can we, what others can replicate from what you do and how you got where you are today.
Dennis is trying to bust the whole humility bubble. So I don't think being an associate director at Habitat is a big deal.
Okay.
Right? However, the work is very important. I think that making sure that you prepare yourself, you have to be a lifetime learner if you want to actually move on in life. So like, for instance, I'm doing a DBA programming class. Do I have to do it? No. But to always be inquisitive. So you always have to have that thirst, lifetime learner. You have to be grounded in something. For me, it's my family, my beautiful wife, my children. That's my cause, right? So that actually moves me forward. Okay, so those things are important. It's not the position is the result of, right? So you don't put your hand, you don't target the position. You actually like be whole as a person, and then all the other things happen, right?
Thank you. So for that, and we want to go to Mr. Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe on the line. Mr. Sengbe, tell us briefly about your professional career, and if you don't mind, how you got where you are today as someone who is a senior accountant for this firm.
and also give me the opportunity to manage our business in New York, to also manage our business in New Jersey, along with the Atlanta office. So as I speak to you now, I'm somewhere in New York, trying to spend the week here doing some of my work. But overall, it has been hard work. It has been the ability of willing to learn. That's actually put me in a position to be where I am today.
Thank you, Mr. Sengbe, and that's beautiful. So we'll come back to you, Mr. Sengbe, but let me turn to Snow. You talk about what you do. I want you to walk us through how is that applicable to Liberia, because most of the time when you go to school here, they say, "Oh, what you're doing here, can you apply in Liberia?" Mm-hmm. What you tell them about your profession?
Well, so what I do for Habitat in terms of like transformational change, it's really like some basic principles, right? It's listening, right? Active listening. Is being able to actually take what you hear and actually create like some really causal change, right? What do I mean by that? I think that everything I do here is extremely applicable to Liberia, right? And I think that as professionals who have actually, I want to say, matured outside of Liberia, I think when you go back there, the first thing to do is understand that there is a system here already, right? Yeah, there may be some bad, but there's a lot of good, right? And it's going there first and listening. And I think a lot of times we take that for granted. And I faced those challenges here earlier on in my career, right? And, you know, the whole know-it-all syndrome.
Right.
I had that, like, you know, that arrogance right out of college. Okay, I'm climbing the corporate ladder. But then again, as life happens, as you learn, right, you understand to take a step back and listen, right? Everybody has a story. So I apply that to my everyday life. You know, the stuff that we're doing at Habitat for Humanity International right now, great work. You know, like, is there some, you know, uncomfort? Absolutely. Is there some friction? Yes, there is. But it's after listening and understanding that you're putting mission before me. So I think when we actually think about Liberia, right, in the sense that, hey, look, are there skills that you can take there? Yes, there's definitely skills. But it's not just going in there and say, okay, hey, look, what kind of work do you have here? SSRS, no. It's not the technical part of it. It's actually that human piece, being able to listen, right, and go from there.
That's beautiful, and that's as you were talking about that, we're going to go to Mr. Sengbe shortly, but let me push you a little bit on the cultural piece, because you say going there and listening. We've been out of Liberia for some time now. A lot of things have taken place.
Yes.
Okay, so you go in there, and there is a little difference in culture, the way we approach our bosses here. How are you going to approach that? You know, because you're going to. I don't want to say that it's going to meet a cultural shock, but it's going to be different.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, it's going to be different. So here's what I'll say to that. You know, right now in Liberia, we have tons of like international like NGOs working there, right? Non-profit, non-governmental organizations, and a lot of them have expat staff. You know, not a lot of local staff, or whatever the case may be. You actually have to go there and actually like understand the cultural context, right? And you have to work within those norms to effect change. Change doesn't come from outside. No, it has to be organic change. Organic change is the most sustainable change that you can have. So, so to answer your question, I use the analogy of, you know, like foreigners or like non-Liberians going there and actually working these nonprofits. Same thing with me. If I go to Liberia, you'll have to stop, listen, and then you start to implement that change, right? You first persuade the first person. Hey, look, what I'm saying, does it make sense? Yes. Okay. And then you go from there, step by step, step by step. If you're going to go in there with the with a naive sense that, oh, look, I know it all, and the way I actually do accounting or the way I actually do business intelligence here is exactly how I'm going to do in Liberia, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Great. So business intelligence. Let's get into that, because of business and then intelligence, right? So I have, say, the Liberian school system, right? We have numbers, because I know business intelligence guys take these numbers and able to transform them or use them to explain something. Okay, so like look at our school, for instance. And but before we go to you more, I want to turn to is Bonak ready on the phone? Okay. So before I go further on that on our school, because I want you to really give me actual examples on how you can use business intelligence, for instance, in our school system. Okay. But before we go there, let's take a short break. Again, you are watching Focus on Liberia, and we're going to be right back after a short break.
Yeah, I work in a Bonak.
Come back to Focus on Liberia. We are discussing Liberian professionals in the diaspora. I have with me Mr. Snorwlor Bropleh, Associate Director for Collaborative Services at Habitat for Humanity International. Right, that I got it right. We also have on the phone Mr. Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe. He's a Senior Regional Accountant for Stefan Company. Mr. Bonak, welcome again. Before the break, Snow, we were discussing an example of business intelligence, and I wanted to use our school system as a case study.
Okay.
So how do you use business intelligence with the numbers, whatever numbers you have in our school system?
Okay, so I'll keep it extremely high level, just extremely high level. So you always start with the bigs, right? What is the big question you're trying to get answered? You know, and an example is, how many female students graduate from high school in Liberia, right? Or what is the answer that you're looking for, or the result you're looking for? Once you get that question of, okay, how many female students graduate? Let's say out of the total student population, 10%, right? And then the thing is, oh no, we want that to be 20%, right? We want 20% of the students that graduate from school in Liberia to be females. Then you take the data that you have, right? So the data that you have would be like, okay, student gender, male, female, student age, student parent information. If the parents are either, from a 2-parent household, 1-parent household. Why are you gathering all these variables? We call it variables. You're gathering it because when you put it together, you'll see clusters, right? Meaning, like, you'll see the data. Certain data will behave the same. Certain data will behave the same. So, for instance, if you look and see that the female students who graduating, and I'm just giving a hypothetical situation,
right.
Are from 2-parent household who both of their parents there are entrepreneurs who make their own business. Then you start to say, okay, so let me start monitoring that group, right? Let me start monitoring that pool. That's how you use, that's a very, very basic example. Okay. Then you say, okay, how many other kind of students do we have in the country? Are all of them enrolled in school, right? The question is, okay, no, we have about 40% of them that live in the up country. Okay, but then we need to target them. Because when we get to them, right, that number is going to go up. That's how people kind of like, in a very simplified terms, that's how you use your data, you get your question, and then you get where you're trying to get to. So that's business intelligence, So you employing like the principles of like, predictive analytics there. Say, okay, if I get the same cluster of people, the same behavioral traits, I can get to here. Yep.
Thank you. That's a business intelligence 101 for you.
.001.
Oh, business intelligence 001.
Yeah, not even 101
Right. Thank you. And that's an example.
Yeah.
Now I want to go to Mr. Sengbe on the line, or Bonak. Okay, Bonak, if you're on the line, I just wanted, you are in accounting and finance that is very popular in Liberia. I just want to walk us through how your career, how you can apply that in Liberia.
So let me just throw this line up, basically what my job entails. So like you said before the program that I work for a global manufacturer, we deal with different call center owners, a lot of people with their department heads. They have their own operational activities, and most often they are focused on what that job entails, rather than focusing on the financial impact. So part of my responsibility as a senior regional accounting analyst is to educate the call center owners to understand that decision they make have cause consequences. And so, in order for me to adequately convey the consequences of their action, we do something called a cost quality profit analysis, what we call a CPPF analysis. Telling them that you have a budget that you need to operate with. And then you have your operation, it's called operational amount identified. The department has been challenged and the way for the fiscal year 2017, the people reduce a unit around £2 million, or maybe even £50,000. So, in order for them to produce what they have been challenged with, there are certain things they need to put into the raw materials, they need labor and other stuff, and sometimes they want to bring contractors for all that. And so, before the decisions are made by the call center owner, we have to sit and look at the cost implications. And so, if you are going to exceed your budget for taking our quota for the year, definitely it's going to impact our financial result for the year. And so, what we often tell them is, if there's a need for you to have supplemental spending to meet your quota for the year, then that spending will be offset by some of your expenses items. That's just one point. Second point is maybe we are working with engineering and business, where they have to, undertake some capital projects. And then we have a capital expenditure budget for the year. If they are undertaking project will be coming out during the year, and say maybe we allocated for a particular department or maybe a particular location. We have $5 million in the budget for capital expenditure, and for some reason, given the workload or given the contingent issues that may arise, they have to spend more than that. Then we need to try to work along with those vendors and say, where can we offset, the increase in our expenditure? And why do I say this? I mean, with the two scenarios I gave you, in our everyday life in Liberia, even agencies, ministries, they all go through the hard decision-making process. Just recently, the Liberian legislature approved the Liberian budget. And if you dissect that budget, you realize that almost every agency or ministry have an allotted amount for them for the 2017 year. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, sorry, I thought I went out. So, if a particular department or a ministry is allotted a certain amount to spend in 2017, and for some reason they are exceeding their budget, there's a need for the controller or even someone who has oversight over finance within that agency or the ministry to engage the leadership of the ministry or the agency to say, the budget has just got passed. We are allotted X amount of dollars, but given the activities or the project we are undertaking at the ministry level or the agency, exceeding our budget by certain amount. And that responsibility will be put on the Ministry of Finance to come up with supplemental to so that ministry of the agency can be able to fulfill the task they have undertaken. So, to just put it in a little context, what we do is monitor people who find themselves in different areas in the workplace who are not focused on finance, but they are focused on operational activities or production or engaged into rendering service. If they are doing something that will impact you financially, and it is the responsibility of those financial experts to talk to people in that department and say, hey, we need to do this. If we don't do this, this is going to be the financial result. At the end of the day, it's going to impact the bottom line. So my work as stepping company is basically centered around this. That I work with people in engineering, I work with people in production, I work with people in maintenance on a weekly basis, some area bi-weekly, telling me exactly what the forecast is, what the budget was, and if we pursue the kind of operation we have going on, where the financial results are going to be. And, in a profit-making organization, I don't want to enter into an organization and say, you want to do things, and at the end of the day, you are in the red.
Right.
So we try to work with them and say, if this is so important that we have to do this, then let's discuss where can we offset some of our spending so that at the end of the day we can break even. So, to answer your question precisely,
yeah.
the idea and the scheme used at work can also be employed to Liberia, especially dealing with agencies and ministries, to always keep down and like telling them where exactly their spending is. And if they are exceeding their spending, then no leadership in the ministry or the agency need to come up with some idea
right.
to at least hold them within the budget.
That's very clear. Bonak, one more question. What we get if you go to Liberia today is where you're coming from, there's a system. But here in Liberia, you don't have the same system or the same processes and procedures in place. So using your example now, how do you apply that to Liberia? Because you're going to get to a place where you are starting everything from scratch, and sometimes there is no process and procedure in place for that.
So again, Dennis and Kerkulah, I will tell you that if you read most of the laws and the policy we have in Liberia, they are very good documents. You cannot read a document, a financial policy, even bylaws in some of the agencies, and conclude that they are not right. The major problem we have in Liberia is people actually adhering to what the policy said. If the head, the ministers, even starting with the president, can emphasize and try to enforce what is written, then at least people at the lower echelon of leadership will try to adhere to them. But if the leadership is not enforcing anything, you can have all the brilliant ideas on paper. If those leaders are not enforcing them, the people at the lower echelon will not take them seriously.
Okay.
So again, if Bonak was given the opportunity to go, say maybe work with an agency or work with a ministry, those are some of the ideas I want to input, especially when it comes to fiscal responsibility. Our country is almost like a curse. That once people see, a budget that has been allotted to them, even if there's no need to spend, people realize that they are giving out $50,000 or $50 million, but we don't have any serious stuff to do with some of the money. In fact, if we go by the planned activity for the year, we might spend 20% less than what has been allotted in the budget for us. But people will find me to use the money because it's a budget. And budget for me is just a guideline.
Right.
That this is where we want to be. And so if I go there, depending on the position I hold, I might be able to say, hey, impress on people that I consider my direct report to see if some of our no brilliant idea can be implemented. But again, I don't want to admit that Liberia don't have some of the brilliant policy. I mean, some of the things I just, illustrated here, I strongly believe you have their books, you have their own agency or ministry policy, operational guidelines.
Right.
But we find it difficult to follow. And if that is the problem, I think people like me or your other hosts can just go to Liberia and say, okay, this is what I learned, where I work, all of these things work. So for the reason I want to enforce it. If his boss or my boss in Liberia does not agree with that, or somehow feels that that would impede what he or she wants to accomplish, that becomes a problem. So, yes, I'll be prepared to, say, let's do this, but it worked for me where I worked 10, 15 years ago, but the onus will be on the leadership to enforce it.
Thank you. So, thank you. And hold the line there. I want to go back to my studio guest, Mr. Bropleh. One of the questions I got even from my previous show is they asked, okay, you guys are so brilliant over there, come home and help us. They want you to come home and help, or what are you doing in America? We want you to come and help. What do you say to them? Or what would it take you to go back to Liberian works?
So that's a really good question, and it's a really personal question, because that's a conflict that I struggle with on a daily basis. And so this is how I've come to peace with it. What I do here in the U.S. is directly related to how I see me giving back to Liberia. So, for instance, my mom is actually back home. She moved back home, with his married to now Bropleh. She's back home. She works with the National Catholic Health Commission or Health Council. And what I do with her is I actually do free consultancy work with her, right, where I help her with some of her data analysis work, with some of her presentations and stuff like that. So that's kind of like okay, mommy said you got to do it, so you do it. So let's move to my professional life. So at Habitat for Humanity International, okay, you see the shirt I'm wearing right now, right? I've made the personal decision to actually promote where I'm from. That was a personal decision of mine, right? So this is how I dress to go to work every day. Okay, that's one. And people say, well, it really doesn't translate into anything. Well, it actually does. But I'll tell you what it does. It actually says that, hey, look, you know what? That guy over there, who's the associate director for collaborative services, he's actually from somewhere. And when they find out where he's from, so good things do come out of there, right? As I speak to you today, I want to call myself an influencer when it comes to how Habitat does some of their stuff, because we're actually working in Liberia right now, and I can't give too much of what happens, but what I would say is this: you don't have to be in Liberia to make the impact, right? You have to make it from the station you are. All right. My ultimate goal, my perfect situation, and I tell my wife this all the time, is for us to pack our satoka for my American friends. That means pack your bags and, move back home to Liberia. But for where I am right now, that's not the right choice. So what I do every single day of my life is make a conscious decision that my decision I make today in my professional life, in my private life, is to promote Liberia and to make sure that I can influence good to our country. I can influence resources directed to our country. So that's how I sleep at night. That's how I'm able to lay myself to bed. I'll give you another example. I'm a part of a group called the Chief Data Officers Inner Circle, right? It's really kind of like a group of, I don't call them my peers, but like the Chief Data Officers from Home Depot, Coca-Cola, all these guys. We all get together for a very intimate dinner and we talk about data, IT. To me, it sounds kind of boring, right? Guess what I do? I talk about Liberia. I said, look, listen, you know what? I dream about a world where the way we actually do pro bono legal work for nonprofits, we could actually be able to share our intellectual property with nonprofits. in countries that matter. Can you imagine if, like, your Bank of America or your marketing firms can actually just take some of their intellectual capital, because it is a tangible asset, and redistribute that to a small country like Liberia with 5 million people? Transformational change right there. But yet, I was not in Liberia. But it happened, right? So those are the kind of ways to think creatively and innovatively of doing things for our country. So, yeah, you really touched a spot just now when you said that, because it plays on me every day, you know. But that's where my heart is. That's where my neighbor think there is. Thank
you. And let me come to you, Bonak, with the same question, but in another way. Okay.
And so now people look at you, if you would consider one back to help. And I know so many people, even my brother, Dr. Sengbe. I mean, he went back there, he got frustrated, and he's back in the States. So it's not just like going to Liberia to offer your service or your talent that would prove that you are giving back to the country. So for instance, just recently, some guys got together and their chair from Columbus called me, and they are trying to put a think tank group together. And my question to them was, what is the purpose of the group? And all they are saying is they want to propose some idea as to how things can be better in Liberia. You come up with policy statements. You look at situations that the country is confronted with. And you come up with idea, you say, hey, this is the way forward. And you explain why you think that will benefit the country. And I'm seriously considering joining that group, because it's like if the country is faced with any situation, be it from any level, any discipline, or any industry, they are bringing engineers, they are bringing, biochemists, they are bringing finance guys, they are bringing guys who have done economics. We all will come together and share the idea. So the country is faced with something, we say, we think this is the way forward, and we give you reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3. That can be another way that individuals from the diaspora can contribute to the development in Liberia. Second point, and just to speak in line to what I was saying about his mom, I'm in the process working with my daughter to see if we can establish a foundation in Kakata Magibi Kanda, the Bonak Foundation, from my late dad. Because when my father was alive, what he did was he took people's children, and maybe you heard this, that Kakata was the city for students. People come from all over Nima, Lofa, Monrovia, they all meet in Kakata. Students would come and live in my parents' home. They would come initially and say they want to rent. After 1, 2, 3 months, they can't afford the rent. My father let them live there, and then my mom would feed them. So he did that for people, and I benefited from some of the good he did from people. I mean, people met me and said, "Oh, you Mr. Bonak, and they did me a favor. They told me your father was a good man." So what my father did while alive is something that maybe before the first quarter ends next year, my daughter, once she gets out of college, we are going to go to Kakata and make sure that we establish the foundation, and the sole intent of the foundation would be to provide scholarship, to help people with food, to provide clothing, and the rest of it, just to better people's lives. So I think there can be many ways people can contribute. We don't necessarily have to move back to Liberia and seek position.
Thank you, Bonak. And if you are watching us, you can call in. Our phone lines are now open, 770-904-9522. And you can also send us your comments and questions on Facebook Live if you are watching the show. And Bonak, what I was going to, there were some people that left from the United States and went to Liberia, some politicians or people that were seeking jobs in Liberia, even running for political offices. And one question they get asked is, what did you do for Liberia? Or what did you do for Liberia while you were in the United States? So there's a question that we keep getting over and over. People want you to do something for them. So if you went home today and you are running for something or you want something, and they ask you, what have you done while you were in America, what will you say?
So, like I said, by the way, I don't know what I have any kind of political aspiration back business guy. Maybe somewhere down the line, I'll be energized to move in that direction. But I think it's a fair question when people ask, what have you done for us? People cannot just leave, and when you look at the Liberian history, people wait when election is around the corner for 1-2 years, and they go back home and begin to do things for the people. And you can call Liberians whatever name you want. They are illiterate, they are this, but they are not dumb. You gotta be involved in their lives. You gotta show that you have their interest. You can't wait when election is around the corner before you go. Even you go and try to spend money, sometimes they will take the money from you and deceive you. And this going first round election, you saw that many people did that in Liberia. So
Okay.
I think it's a more question.
Bonak, hold your thoughts.
If Bonak wants to ever decide that he wants to go back home to run, Bonak will play 6-10 years ahead. That I want to do things in Liberia to impact the people's life.
Okay, Bonak.
And so if my job, if my work in Liberia prove my worthiness, and the people decide that, hey, you don't want to petition Bonak to run, that is a decision that I have to make.
Thank you.
I genuinely think that if you want to go to Liberia, showing interest in the people is by being involved in their daily lives and helping them improve their lives.
That's fair point. Thank you, Bonak, and thank you so much. Let me come back to you, Snow, and we have a caller. If please call in if you have any question or comments. And then there's a caller on the line. But Snow, I know there are a lot of professional Liberians here in America, okay, or in the diaspora. What are your ideas of collaborating with other Liberian professionals to make that big impact on Liberia?
Great question. So here's what I'll do. I'll use an example that I'm actually living to this day. I have a group of brothers that have been a part of my life journey, right, for the good part of 20 plus years. My classmates from St. Patrick's High School. Okay?
All right. Snow, hold that thought.
Okay,
There's a caller on the line.
Okay, caller, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Charles Yama. I'm calling from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Welcome, Charles. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comments?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, there was a statement made by, I guess, the program coordinator was saying people in Liberia, sometimes we ask us from the diaspora, what have you done for Liberia while being in the diaspora? So my intake to that is that there are many ways we have that we can contribute to Liberia without physically, because I believe most of their expectation is you should carry a container of free rights, a container of some related. I just know that you contribute to Liberia. But why in the diaspora, I'm paying my taxes on my property, and those taxes are used to fund projects in Liberia. And besides that, I'm remitting assistance to friends and relatives. So I really don't understand their question if they're asking, what have you done for Liberia?
Thank you. That's a good point.
Thank you, caller.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
And so, Snow, we can continue about collaboration.
Yeah. So I think collaboration is kind of like it's an old method of like moving things forward, but it's something that's really understated. We don't do it enough. Collaboration and partnerships. We don't do it enough. So I was using myself as an example. I surround myself with a group of really cool guys who've been together for like 20 years plus. Call them my brothers, right? We all went through like St. Patrick's together, right? We have a WhatsApp group, and you would think that on that WhatsApp group we're just doing like locker room talk, but on that WhatsApp group we've had like some ridiculous business moves on that WhatsApp group. Everybody in a different sector, right? Everybody in a different sector. Oh, you doing that? Oh yeah, okay, I'm doing this. Oh, let's meet and collaborate. As I speak to you, like some of our classmates are in Liberia. Some came from here, some in Liberia, they're collaborating on project. From a WhatsApp group, right? Think about it, if they weren't even like, you know, in that space to do that. So I think we got another caller. You want to take the other caller or can I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Bonak, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I use that as an example to say that we do not do that enough. I'll give another example that's very, very relevant to our existence right here in the U.S. If you look across the span of the U.S., right, you have so many nonprofits, small, big, medium-sized, large, international, right? But then even in our community, right, I do MC stuff on the side, right, to actually give back to the community because I do, like, I charge very small when I'm doing nonprofit work, when I'm doing MC work to raise money for people. I put nothing in Liberian English so you don't get my American friend. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if every single Liberian nonprofit who say raises, let's say 20,000 or less, right, just says we will get together once a month to see what kind of projects we're working on, so we don't reduplicate efforts. Do you know what type of impact you make in Liberia? Collaboration. Like, in my professional life, that's all we do now at Habitat. We collaborate, right? You cannot be the master of everything, but you can help point the way. Again, influence, point the way to the way it should be done. Because there are subject matter experts out there. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Oh, good. That's a great answer. And Bonak, I'll come to you. As we have 2 minutes, very short time to be here. But let me go to you, Bonak. What you have accomplished so large in such a short period of time, you know, in your career. What career advice do you have for Liberians here in the United States and back home in Liberia?
So here's what I would say, and I have said this. If some of my friends are listening and they will tell you, if family members are listening and they will tell you that I've always said this to them. In Liberia, it was difficult to go to school. Your parents had to pay, do other stuff. People come to America, so much opportunity. In fact, some of them came to this country legitimately. You have an opportunity to, you know, go to school, depending on your income. If you are somebody who even have money, and you think maybe you can have some free money to go to school, there is opportunity to take home. And I would just cite my own life as an example. Spent 2 good years at the University of Liberia. My junior year, I was dislodged from Monrovia because of that 1996 war. I went to Ghana, and I spent my life in Ghana from 1996 up to 2002 before I left Ghana and came to the U.S. But while there also, I just didn't stay. I mean, maybe Dennis, you said maybe you took note of me while I was there. I gave back to the high school on the camp. And I went there, I taught business math and bookkeeping for 2 years before I left. Came to this country, you know, some of my colleagues there, hey, my man, come down to Massachusetts, let's go to school. I went down to Massachusetts, and I found it very difficult because, you know, some of the folks there who persuaded me to move down were not ready. And I had to move out and met strangers who said, gave me my story. They were going to have to accommodate me. Lived with some of those folks for 6 months. I did not pay rent. But I was there committed to my education. I went to school, literally eating cold food every night coming back home. But I had my mind set on succeeding. All right? My mom even saw me at some point in time. I was proud of it. And she said, look, come back to Philadelphia. I said, no, I'm here for school. I got to complete. And so I did not relent. I went through all those stuff. Where I work currently, people, Black Americans were asking, hey, Bonak, how did you get this job? And one thing I always say today is that you speak fluently. I come from a place, I speak with accent. You see the white folks will look at me and just say, oh, because when I came from Africa, you know, Africa, the folks in Liberia are suffering, so for that reason, I'm going to give Bonak a job. It was not that, because They saw that I had a potential, and then they gave me the job. And over the years, I have developed to the point that I manage 3 different locations. So what I would tell Liberians here and back home, whatever opportunity you have when it comes to education, it doesn't have to be collegiate education. Even if it's some kind of vocational training, be very, very committed, be prepared to learn, because you never know when that opportunity will come and it will pay off. And, you know, so those who think that, you know, it's a hard thing to go to school in this country, they need to rethink that. Because I'm living and benefiting from that effort. If I did it, there are so many Liberians in America who have done it. Hundreds, if not thousands. If you find yourself in Liberia and there's no opportunity to travel, you got to stick in there, be committed to your education, learn, be honest with yourself, and you'll be successful.
Good.
Your friends that are left back home in Liberia, some of them are doing very, very well. Some of them are deputy ministers. They did not travel, but these guys were committed to learning. So if you're honest and you're prepared to persevere,
right,
and you get that degree, it doesn't matter if you travel or not. But if the opportunity comes and someone says, who made this qualification for this job, if you have that degree, it's going to happen. So I always encourage people that I call education the equalizer in life.
Thank you.
If you don't have the education, if opportunity comes, you're going to miss that. So if you are listening to this program, again, I want Liberians to double up, because time will come, even with the BSc, it's going to be considered a high school certificate.
Right, right.
If you have a bachelor degree and there's an opportunity for you to go and get your graduate degree, I encourage you to do that, because it will take you a long way. That's one way in succeeding and being competitive in life.
Thank you, Bonak. Thank you. Let's go to our callers or our people on Facebook Live. Stephanie, do we have any questions or comments on Facebook?
Yes, we have 2 questions from Mr. Isaac Setro. First one, can we encourage the hiring of Inspector General in all public institutions, Bonak? And the second one is Snor. How can we help the University of Liberia and other higher institution of learning to establish computer science department in this technological age?
All right. So first question is for Bonak. How can we have that? Can you repeat that?
How can we encourage the hiring of Inspector Generals in all public institutions?
Okay. Bonak, how do we encourage the hiring of Inspector General in...
I think the first place you got to start with that is the Ministry of Education. It's a good idea, and it's good that Aziz has in our question. Like I said, pretty soon I've been working with a think tank group, and part of the idea behind our group is to offer suggestions, policy suggestions to the Liberian government. If we decide that we want to appoint Inspector General in every school, it will help us. I mean, we can lay down the criteria and define what exactly the inspector will be doing. And if Arthur is listening, maybe he could fully introspect on that, so exactly what the inspector will be doing. That will help a long way. But I think you will have to count on that too, the Ministry of Education, and also with the MTSS system in Monrovia to see that if that's something they want to buy into, and we got to assess the pros and cons to see if it will actually help to improve our educational system in whatever way, shape, or fashion.
Thank you. Now the question trying to use Snow about establishing technology centers for Liberia.
So, great question. Thank you so much. Although I'm not a computer science major, I'm actually a child of technology. I believe in its power. What I would say is this. I think Liberia is actually on that journey already. And I say that because look at the elections that just happened. People were actually Facebooking live during their their different rallies. You saw all that interaction. That was not there before, right? So I think what we need to understand is there has to be an environment for technology to flourish. And I think we're there. You have a lot of schools now offer computer science as an option. You have STARS Technology Institute, and you have a lot of others. A lot of my friends and brothers who I talked about, also in that technology space. So I don't think it's an absolute, like today you can switch on the thing and then there's computer science all over. I think the environment is there and it's getting better, but you need like the infrastructure there, right? So that's already happening. You have Google. I think Google Fiber is actually in Liberia or something like that. The internet is stronger, but then also you got to have like a job market to support that growth in technology jobs. So I do think it's a journey. It's a marathon versus a sprint.
Thank you. And once again, you're watching Focus on Liberia. And Snow, I just want to ask you on a lighter note. Your name is Snorwlor. Mm-hmm. What does that mean and the story behind it, if you don't mind sharing with us?
I'll give you the abbreviated version. My name is actually Se Yungswato Snorwlor Wonwe. Okay, that's the name. All right? It was given to me by my mom. Okay? And it means God's heart. God knows why. And the story behind that is my mom wanted a daughter. And I was the last child for a daughter. So when I came through, a boy, she said, you know what? That God's will. God knows why. So that's why my name is that Snorwlor, meaning God's heart.
I hope you're doing God's will then.
Absolutely. That's why we're having that humanity, putting God's action, putting God's love into action. That's our slogan.
Let me go back to you, Bonak. Your name is Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe. Most of us Liberians, we have the first English name and last name, our indigenous name. Why you have all three? Bonak Sengbe Kerkulah or Bonak Kerkulah Sengbe?
I mean,
what does that mean, and why is that so unique?
Question, Dennis. Of the three, I can only give you the meaning of the first one. The first one in the Bani language means announcer, someone who announces or gives. If you can call it a time crier, that's something exactly what that name stands for. The Kerkulah name is somehow Madingo related. My great grandfather came from Guinea. And I hope someday I can ask my uncles to tell me exactly what Kerkulah and Sengbe stand for. But my first name Bonak is somebody who makes the announcement. So if you're in a village and the town crier is out telling everybody to gather, that's me.
Thank you, Bonak. Just before I let you go, any final closing statement? Let me give you like three seconds.
So I'll take a stab at that, and then Snow can close up. Again, I just want to say thanks to you and the crew for inviting me this evening. I think you guys are doing a fabulous job. There's a need for the Liberians back home to know that many of us around here continue to work hard, educationally from a professional standpoint. And with the end goal of, taking care of our family and helping our countrymen and our country alike. And so people who think that those of us who live in the state somehow look different from other Liberians in the state,
great.
I think it's a great fallacy, and people got to disabuse themselves from those kind of thinking.
Thank you.
We are all one.
Great.
If you look just from observation and from information emanating from our country, there are a lot of Liberians here.
All right.
Not just sending money back home to Liberia, but they are also helping to develop that country.
That's great.
And when that 2015, there are a lot of beautiful buildings.
Thank you.
And, as I inquired from people in neighborhoods that I went to, they told me that, the person who's building the house, the person is in America. The person who's doing this. If you don't have interest in Liberia, then people will not have cost investing their hard-earned money into Liberia.
Thank you. That's
many of
great.
our brothers back home should just understand that it was an opportunity, and I guess if any of them was accorded that opportunity to travel, they would jump at that opportunity and come and improve themselves. That doesn't mean that we are any better than them, but this is the situation. So, let us try to put aside our differences, and try to work together to build that country, because that country needs every one of us.
Thank you.
One person cannot do it. So
Thank you, Mr. Bonak.
Someone has any potential or bring someone a unique ability to helping develop that country.
Okay, thank you, caller.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonak. It was great having you. Now, Mr. Bropleh, just 5 seconds if you have any last word.
Yeah, my last words is, it starts, I would say this to all Liberians, it starts at home, right? I'm the product of my upbringing, I'm the product of my current existence. It starts from home, you know, it starts from what you're going home to, you know, like my beautiful wife, my lovely daughter, Fidelia Todi, my son, you know, Doba Patrick, you know, my brothers, my cousins. Like, as a person, you can't just be great. You have to be grounded. So my advice to everybody is this. It might sound lofty, but think about it. Like, you have to make yourself whole first before you can actually go out there and do great things. Go to school, get your BSc, and so forth. So it starts from home. And that would be my closing remarks, that, you know, just make sure you get home straight. If you're single, just make sure, like, whatever you're doing, you know, you're whole, and everything else will work itself out.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bropleh, for, you know, accepting our invitation to be here. We want to say thank you for those watching us by television, on the internet, and via Facebook. I want to thank our product engineer, Mrs. Stephanie Setro. I want to thank our producer, Mrs. Yasendi Martin-Kpeyei, and also our studio manager, Mr. Patrick Ansel. We are discussing Liberia, focus on Liberia, because Liberia is the one and only country we love. No matter where we are, there is no place like home. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.